Fiora is one of the best duelists in the entire game. Her late game power is nearly unmatched, and only champions like Jax are able to stand toe to toe with her in the late game. For this reason, she is a very popular pick for a top lane carry. However, unlike other popular top lane carry champions, you're unable to pick tanks into Fiora due to her passive. This is why Fiora is a favorite pick among top laners. Since most people won't pick a tank into Fiora, 9 times out of 10 you're going to be playing a skill matchup when locking in Fiora. Almost every bruiser matchup in the game has outplay potential for Fiora, making her one of the highest skill cap champions and a very rewarding champion once you have her mastered. If you're new to the channel and you haven't already, consider checking out our website GameLeap.com. There we have hundreds of videos all done by challenger players sorted into a quick and easy to use courses system. We have courses both on the 5 fundamental roles as well as champion specific courses, so if that's something that interests you, then check it out using the link in the description below. Now without further ado, let's get into Fiora. The very first thing that you need to know about Fiora is how her passive works, her vitals. This is the very core of her kit, and if you don't understand them, you're not going to be seeing nearly as much success on Fiora as you could. Now I want to cover exactly how Fiora's vitals work because there has been a lot of misinformation out there on Fiora's vitals. There have been people who have said things like, Fiora's vitals can be manipulated to do what you want them to do 80 or 90% of the time, and that they're predictable in almost every situation, and this and this and this, and it's just not the truth. So I want to go over in depth how Fiora's vitals work so that you know what you can and cannot do with vitals. Now there is quite a bit of RNG with this, but it's honestly not a big deal as long as you play around it properly. So first you need to understand that there are 4 potential vital spawn areas on Fiora's target. These vitals are very simple, however, they are all in the 4 cardinal directions and they do not rotate at all. They will remain facing north, south, east, or west. These vitals are further grouped into 2 different categories. You have your south and your west vitals, and you have your north and your east vitals. Fiora's vitals are split the same exact way that the river split Summoner's Rift. Now when you hit a vital from one of these groups, it will then spawn a vital from the opposite group. For example, if you hit a south-facing vital, the next vital cannot be west-facing. It has to either be north or east-facing. After you proc whichever vital is next, the north or the east facing vital, it will return to the south or the west facing vital. It will behave in this pattern every single time with no exceptions. You cannot get a west facing vital after a south facing vital, and likewise you cannot get a north facing vital after an east facing vital. In the laning phase, this means that you cannot get 2 front facing vitals in a row. It's not possible. Because Fiora's vitals work like this and only this, with a little bit of practice you can get down where you should position on the enemy champion in order to make sure you're getting the most out of your vitals. While it might be a guessing game where exactly the vital is going to spawn out of the 2 possible positions, it doesn't mean that you don't know where you can position in order to hit it. The 2 best places to put yourself in relative to the enemy champion is either southwest of them or northeast of them. Make sure you are also taking the enemy champion's movement into account. It might be easy to position yourself against a target dummy, but once that champion starts moving, it becomes significantly harder. This will take work, but if you're able to do it perfectly, the amount of vitals that you're going to be able to get is just going to skyrocket, and your Fiora play is going to be so much better, I guarantee it. Now, do not feel bad if this seems a little bit overwhelming for you. Fiora's vitals are one of the most complex mechanics in all of League of Legends, and managing them well takes so much skill, okay? The main thing you want to be doing here is keeping it in your head how the vitals work so that you can practice your play while knowing where the next vital is going to be. This will ensure that you have the highest quality of practice as possible, which should show you the best results possible. Now, let's use this newfound knowledge on how Fiora's vital mechanic works in order to establish some trade patterns in the laning phase. Front-facing vitals should be capitalized on whenever possible. Now, this does not mean that you dash into every single vital that you can reach. There are certain instances where you could hit a vital, but it is not safe to, and you need to take this into account. If you're laning against a 100 Fury Renekton and a Sejuani is in the brush waiting to gank you, it's fine, just back up and let the Vital go, it's okay. You should only be capitalizing on Vitals that will allow you to either escape without taking any damage, or that you will be able to out-trade on. Make sure that you are also taking minion damage into account, as Fiora's Q does pull minion aggro early on into the game, and the healing will not out-heal the minion damage early on. Now that we've established how you should and should not go for Vitals, let's talk about how you should behave when each individual Vital presents itself. Early on into the laning phase, back-facing Vitals are very hard to get. Lucky for you, there's a trick that you can use in order to respawn the Vital in a more beneficial position. All you have to do is walk back towards your tower out of vision from the enemy. This will cause your Vital to respawn and allow you to get a new, more beneficial Vital. Make sure that you are not missing any minions when utilizing this tip, as it is not worth missing EXP just to open up a trade opportunity. Now, this is only applicable for some champions. There are some champions that are just going to jump on you, and as a result, you're going to be able to get onto those back-facing Vitals without a problem. You only really need to do this if the enemy is very heavily guarding their Vitals. Now, front-facing Vitals are the much more interesting Vitals here. These are going to be the two Vitals closest to you. When trading on a front-facing Vital, you have one of two options. The first is a very simple, short trade where you just go for the Vital and you get out. This will almost always guarantee HP advantage for you, and you are almost guaranteed to get out due to the fact that the Vital is going to be giving you move speed and HP. The second trade that you can do is committing for a second Vital. With this trade, you use the movement speed granted to you from the Vital to get behind the enemy champion and look for a second Vital. With Fiora, you never want to be standing still auto-attacking from the same position, as you're going to lose a lot of DPS for doing this. Keep in mind that if you do commit for a second Vital in this case, then you need to be careful, because you are only going to be able to get out if you hit a second Vital. Without movement speed and with your Q being on cooldown, it's going to be very hard to get away from the enemy champion, so make sure that you really do want to go in for an extended trade before going in. If you are not positive, it is always better to just take the short poke, hit the one Vital, and not go for anything else. You can guarantee better trades early on into the game by using a Grasp Rune page if you so prefer. However, a lot of people do run Conqueror because it scales significantly better. Now, I could talk about Fiora's passive for 30 minutes easy without breaking a sweat. However, there is significantly more to Fiora than just her passive, so let's move on. Keep in mind that Parry is not only a spell that can be used to block CC. One of the biggest mistakes that I see Fiora players making is they're just sitting on their parry waiting for CC to come out. It is okay if you don't parry CC. Sometimes leading your trade with parry and not even waiting for them to throw their CC is the better option. Keep in mind that the attack speed slow that you get from parry is almost as good as the stun that you would get from blocking any CC. Parrying at the very start of a fight makes it very hard for the enemy champion to auto-attack you back, as they have to deal with this absurd attack speed slow. As a result, you can dictate when to disengage from a fight instead of just waiting on parry and waiting for them to throw their CC. This allows you to take control of the fight instead of just waiting for the enemy champion to take control of the fight. Now, for some characters, it is better to just wait for them to throw their CC to get a guaranteed parry on them. If you are playing a matchup that doesn't have a lot of time to react to the CC, for example Riven's W, then sometimes it's better to just lead with parry so that you can get the parry off and make some use of it. If you hold parry into matchups like this, it just becomes a guessing game and allows the enemy champion to just burst you without ever having a chance to use your own parry. If you do win the guessing game, that's great, but oftentimes in a lot of these matchups, it's not going to be enough to make it so that you actually win the all-in. This is why you want to avoid guessing games as much as possible when it comes to Fiora's W. Now, the last thing I do want to touch on for Fiora specifically is her split pushing, because this is something that I see so many people doing wrong. Just because you can split push and melt towers with Fiora does not mean you should just be AFK split pushing on the enemy tower. You need to make sure that you are not going to be punished for your split push and die needlessly. You can guarantee this every time through proper vision and discipline. Getting a deep ward in the enemy jungle is the best investment for split pushers, as it tells you when people are coming to you. This allows you to safely pressure the tower without being at risk of dying from not knowing where the enemy champions are. You need to remember that if you do die in the side lane, then it allows the enemy team to pressure Baron, which will completely kill your split push. Playing safe, playing calm, and playing disciplined is the best way to split push. If everyone on the map is not accounted for, then you need to play safe and just wait for the enemy team to show. It's not worth risking your life just for a few hundred tower damage. For those of you who want to refine your split pushing power to its fullest, I would highly recommend watching the player Fogged FTW2. He does play Tryndamere, which isn't Fiora, but everything that he does can be applied to your split pushing on Fiora as well. He is the most well-disciplined, knowledgeable split pusher that I know of as far as top laners go. He has an educational channel over on twitch.tv that has hundreds of hours of VODs that you can just comb through if you are really looking to watch a master at work. That just about does it for today's video on Fiora. If this guide was interesting to you and you want to check out more of our work, be sure to check out our website, GameLeap.com. There we have hundreds of guides, all done by challenger players, sorted into a quick and easy to use courses system. We have courses both on the 5 fundamental roles as well as champion specific courses just like this one. So if that's something that interests you, be sure to check us out using the link down below. As always, I hope you learned something valuable, and I will see you in the next one.